I've repeated the process of flattening one face and straightening and squaring one edge on several other boards. So now the next step in the process is going to be sizing each of these individual boards to the desired width. I've arranged the boards how I'd like to put them in the finished cutting board. But as you can see, hopefully, there are gaps in the joinery at this point because only one edge of each board has been planed straight and square. In order to close up these gaps, I need to plane the second edge of several of the boards straight and square, just as I did with the first edge. Now I could just follow the exact same process for the second edge that I did for planing the first edge straight and square. And that would be just fine if I wasn't concerned about the exact width of these boards, or if the second edge was perfectly parallel to the first edge. But for the sake of learning the process, we're going to pretend that these boards need to be a specific width and that that second edge does in fact need to be parallel to the first edge. Note how I've marked the face and edge of each board that I've already planed. We call these reference marks, and they identify the face and the edge that I'll use to do all of my future layout. When I begin to make joinery, I'll only reference the fence of my marking gauge or the stock of my tri-square on one of these two edges. I won't reference on either of these other two faces. So there's two scenarios that we'll explore for planing that second edge. The first scenario is that we don't care about the exact width of these pieces. We only care that the second edge is going to be parallel to the first edge. In this scenario, I'm not concerned with the actual width of this board. I'm only concerned that it's parallel. So what I'm going to do is take my marking gauge and I'm going to look for the narrowest area on the board, and I'm going to set the gauge to a hair narrower than that dimension. On this board, that happens to be this corner. Then I can take that gauge setting and scribe it along all four edges, referencing the fence of my gauge off of my reference face. I can then plane this second face, paying attention to my marking gauge line. And I'm not going to plane this second face perfectly evenly. I want to pay attention to that line and focus most of my effort on the areas where I need to remove more wood. Looking at my gauge line, I can see that this corner is very low and I'm much thicker up at this end. So I'm going to focus more effort towards this end. As I begin to approach my gauge line, I'm also going to switch from my jack plane to my smooth plane, take a lighter cut to finish the job. Now, once the gauge line has been removed on all four edges, then we know that this second face is parallel to the first face. Now, our second scenario is that we want to make our second edge not only perfectly parallel to the first edge, but also a defined width from that first edge. So what we're going to have to do in this case is set our marking gauge using a ruler. So in this case, I want this board to finish out at 3 inches wide. So I'll take my ruler and I'll actually set my marking gauge to 3 inches. And then I can do the same thing, scribing on all four edges 3 inches from my reference edge. Now that might be a little difficult to see, so let me darken it in for you. That's probably a good 1/4 of an inch that I need to take off there, and that's more than I want to do with a plane. So I'll go ahead and rip that with a saw first. Now I'll be completely honest with you. 1/4 of an inch is really right on the borderline of efficiency when it comes to sawing with a handsaw, especially in this 8/4 walnut. I'm not sure whether it would have been more efficient to just plane this down with a scrub plane and then switch to my other planes, or rip it with the saw first, but I chose to rip it with the saw first. If you have a table saw or a bandsaw, it's very easy. If you don't, you really have to make that decision. Is it going to be more efficient to rip with the handsaw, or is it going to be more efficient to just plane that material away? One good rule of thumb is if the piece that's going to come off is going to be useful to you for something else, maybe you can use it for veneer or shim or whatever, then it might be more efficient for you to saw it off. But if the piece that you saw off is going to be so thin that it's going to be pretty much useless, it might be more efficient just to plane that material away. I mentioned when we were making the winding sticks that when you're planing to a gauge line, you'll often see these little feathers of wood like this. This is the top of the gauge line, and it's a good indication that you've hit your gauge line. This will be removed with the very next pass of the plane. So it's an indication that you should stop planing once you see these little feathers start to come up. However, don't rely on seeing these, because sometimes you'll just plane them away and you won't see them. It really depends on your shaving thickness and the depth that you're planing to. But if you do see them, they're a good indication that you've hit your gauge line, and you should stop planing in that area once you've removed that little feather. So, with all of my boards planed, I'm now ready to glue this thing up into a wider panel. And that will be our next step.